What's poppin', y'all? It's that time of the year. March Madness is here, and in today's video, we are filling out our 2023 brackets. Yes, sir. First and foremost, I want to say I appreciate all of the love and the appreciation of my college basketball knowledge all day on Twitter. My mentions have been on fire. P, what you think about this? When the video is dropping, I need the bracket video. I need to know your help. I need to know this. Do you think I'm crazy for doing this? First thing I'm going to say is this. I am no expert. Nobody's an expert when it comes to March. I don't care how much money you get paid to cover it, how long you've been watching, how many players you know, the coaches, the schemes. None of that is important. This is the most unpredictable sporting event in all of sports, and that's why everybody loves it. People like me who watch every single game, we know all the players, the type of offenses that are being ran, what team has what defense, prospects. Even we can't fill out perfect brackets. And then you have people who never watch, and they're just in the office with the company. They're filling out brackets just because it's fun. They don't know a player. They don't know a team. They're picking teams based on colors. They do good. So it's just like, it's whatever. It's just having fun and just enjoying your picks and things like that. What I am here to do is give you any information I can so you can have some sorts of familiarity with teams. And if you're a person who is a little bit into college basketball and you're looking for those recipes for teams that, you know, are Cinderellas or make upsets, I'm here for that. But I just want to put it out there. Following me or anybody else when you're making a bracket is rule number one to go wrong. I am a firm believer that you do not follow anybody's picks. You just trust your gut, take information, and you make your own pick. That's rule number one. The second thing I'm going to tell you, and the last thing, is being a biased fan will get you in trouble. There's been plenty of years when I was younger where I had teams going a little further than they were supposed to go on my bracket just because I was a fan or I liked a certain player on that team. That's always a bad mistake. So stay away from following people and following your team. You got to put your bias and fandom aside sometimes when filling out these brackets, and it may hurt you, but it may do you justice in the long run. So now that we got all of that out of the way, let's dive into the field of 64 and make our picks. So before we really go in, I do want to remind everybody that we do have a Through the Wire group bracket on ESPN. As you can see right here, we have 300 plus people already enter their brackets. You definitely want to get involved in this. If you have one of the top brackets, we're going to be doing some form of giveaway, maybe give away some merch, something like that. We're going to figure all of those things out, but definitely get you a bracket in this group. It's one bracket per person. We're not doing any hanky-panky. And once the tournament starts, you're done. So you cannot enter a bracket in the middle of the tournament. You have to have your bracket in before the games start on Thursday, so keep that in mind. But I definitely encourage everybody to go find a Through the Wire challenge for the brackets on ESPN. You just type in Through the Wire, submit your bracket, and again, if you're one of the top people with the best brackets at the end, we're going to do some form of a giveaway, so make sure you stay in tune for that. I am going to be filling out my bracket live here. So what I need to do is go to my own self. We're going to start out south with the number one overall seed, which is Alabama. Anybody that knows me knows I've been a very, very big Alabama fan for the last, I don't know how many years since they've hired Nate Oates. I'm a big fan of Nate Oates. I think he has a revolutionary offense. Let me not say revolutionary, but I think he really gets modern offense. And I always said if I was a top 5 prospect, I would be going to Alabama. If I was the father of a top 5 prospect, he would be going to Alabama. Someone would be going to Alabama. I would push Alabama hard on him. Just because I think they really understand the direction of basketball. A lot of spacing, really good pace, three-point shooting, screening, and Nate Oates encourages that with his players, and I just think that that's a brilliant philosophy, giving your players freedom, giving them pace, and understanding the game with the three-point shooting and the screening and the cuts and things like that. And I just love the way that they play, and I love Nate Oates. I think he's a brilliant basketball mind. And I told people before the season started, just like I did last year with Jabari Smith Jr., Brandon Miller was the truth. Since I seen Brandon Miller in high school, I'm like, this is the guy. He's going to be bona fide, and he's done that this season. So I'm taking Alabama because they have a lot of things that I like over there. Shout out to JQ Jelly. They're exciting. They're not going to spend too much time talking about them because them being the number one overall seed kind of speaks for itself. But I am a big time believer in them. And I may pick them to go all the way because, like I said, it's been a long time coming to see Alabama finally be in this position because I knew it was coming with Nate Oates. And I honestly don't think this is going to stop anytime soon because he really understands basketball. He had a really, really good team out there in Buffalo before he came to Alabama. If you don't know Nate Oates, go get involved with Nate Oates. I'm sure he probably has 1,000 videos by now on YouTube about him, about his offense, and you guys are going to walk away as fans. West Virginia and Maryland, it's going to be a grinded out game, tough matchup. One thing I also want to say is you always have this information thing that tell you about the two teams that are head off against each other. So right now, I'll tell you a little background. The Mountaineers offense and below average defense overall. They can cause problems by teams for crashing offensive boards, yada, yada, yada. They'll tell you the percentages. These are their points per games, what they allow. Ultimately, in this game, I'm going to go with Maryland. I just think that Maryland is going to slow the game down. I love their press. I think that can be, a big-time problem for West Virginia. And usually Bob Huggins and West Virginia teams, this is their time to come alive. I'm just not getting that feel for them this year. This particular year, I'm not. I believe they got the Eric Stevenson guy I've seen a few times. I like them, but overall, I really like Maryland. Their guard play is good, and they have a lot of players that I trust more than West Virginia. Now, San Diego State and Charleston. This is where we get to upset alert. I'm going Charleston because they have a recipe for Cinderella and upset basketball. They don't have that main guy, which is what I prefer. Like a lot of y'all may know, and a couple years ago on my bracket video, I was one of the people that was saying, hey, Oral Roberts. And a lot of people saw, and my video kind of went crazy because they kept clipping out that video or that part every time they would upset. And I actually did very well that year on my bracket because of Oral Roberts, because they have guard play with Max Abmas. And they had, what's my guy name? He transferred, Urbana. I think he went to Texas Tech. He may be somewhere else now. But they had a good pick and pop duo. Charleston doesn't have that guy, but what they have is a very potent offense. They play extremely fast, and they shoot a lot of threes. And I think that's going to overwhelm a lot of teams. And I think that's a recipe for March Madness. When you shoot the three the way they do, you are never out of a game. Or if you get hot from early, you can put a team away quick and fast. And because they're going to pace, space, run, they're going to be a very, very dangerous team. So I'm going Charleston here over San Diego State, who's not a bad defense, but I think Charleston is going to be very, very overwhelming. And that's why the 5-12 matchup is not always the fairest. It's not always the fairest because when you're a 5 seed like San Diego, it sounds good, but Charleston is going to be over. If I'm San Diego State, I'd rather play Maryland or West Virginia, me personally, but we know how it goes. Virginia at number 4, Tony Bennett. Virginia is the only number 1 seed that has ever lost to a 16 seed, and then the very next year they came back and won a championship, which is why March Madness is the very most unpredictable thing that could ever happen. They're usually a sound, good team. They play really well in the ACC, not really fast. They're going to slow the game down, grind it out, defensively sound. Kihei Clark, not going to turn the ball over, but I'm going for Furman. And the reason being is because of the Princeton-style offense that they run, where they're going to backdoor. They're very, very good offensively. Defensively, there's a lot to be desired, but I love the way that they play, and I think they could be overwhelming to Tony Bennett's Virginia. So I'm going Furman, man. It's gonna be a tough call because easily I can get this wrong, and Virginia can go, and Virginia will be the favorite against Charleston or San Diego State. And then next thing you know, Virginia is right here playing Alabama, and this is the Sweet 16. You know what I mean? Like, that could hurt my bracket a lot, but I'm gonna go out there on a limb and I'm gonna do it. Next matchup, we have Creighton, NC State. Terquavion Smith and Joyner in the backcourt of NC State is always going to give them a chance to beat any team in the nation, in my opinion. But I don't think they have enough for Creighton. Creighton was one of my favorite teams coming into the season. They had a slow start. They're really surprising, but I think they're a team that's primed for this time of year. You know, just like we talk about in the NBA, there's teams that are really good in the regular season, not so good in the playoffs, and then you have teams that just kind of coast through the regular season and then they turn it up for playoff basketball. And I think Creighton is designed for March Madness. They have a very balanced team, and I think they're going to be really, really good with Nembhard. They have Ryan Kalkbrenner, who I really love. They got Baylor Schottenheimer, who a lot of y'all may know from the last year's tournament. He was a really good player. I think they're going to be lethal when it comes to this side of the bracket, and they have a chance to go really, really far. Baylor and UC Santa Barbara, this is a tough one. This is probably the toughest one I had to look over when doing my bracket. I ultimately went with UC Santa Barbara. And no, actually, I think I'm going to go Baylor. This is a tough matchup because UC Santa Barbara, they have the kid, AJ Mitchell. AJ Mitchell is really, really good in the pick and roll. He can slow the game down. This one I keep going back and forth with. Part of me wants to take UC Santa Barbara because I feel like regardless of Baylor or UC Santa Barbara, Creighton is going to move on and beat whatever team wins this matchup. Baylor, really, really good trio. Require, George. They can score the basketball, and they score the most points on jump shots. If I'm not mistaken, what's the third guy's name again? It's Cryer, it's George, and then I'm forgetting Flager. How could I forget that? But ultimately, I want to lean to UC Santa Barbara so bad because Baylor, I haven't been trusting Baylor. I'm gonna give Baylor the edge. I have not been trusting Baylor. I don't trust Baylor. I'm just being real. This is not one of my favorite Baylor's teams of late. I think they've put together really, really good teams. Not a fan of the current one that they have. They've just been so up and down. They can, put a team like Kansas with their back against the ropes and then they lose. Like let's look at some of their highlights this year. So yeah, Baylor beat a UCLA team. They beat a Gonzaga team. They beat Kansas once, lost to Kansas, beat Texas, lost to Texas. But then they lost to Marquette by 26. They lost twice to Kansas State. They lost to Iowa State 3 times. Like, they're just so up and down. One minute they can beat a UCLA or Kansas, 2 of the top teams in this entire bracket. But then they can lose to a team like UC Santa Barbara because you just don't know. Or they'll lose 3 times. 3 times to Iowa State. Iowa State is a very good team, but 3 times. I don't know. But I'm gonna give Baylor the edge. Missouri versus Utah State. I really want to take Utah State because they shoot the 3 ball extremely well. But I think Missouri make teams turn the ball over too much, and I like Kobe Brown a lot. And I feel like they're just going to be too physical for Utah State to match. But this is one I really did have my eye on just because, like I said, Utah State, they have that recipe of the 3-point shooting. They have a young man who shoots 50% on off-the-dribble threes. They're going to make Missouri come out and guard, but Missouri is going to guard. They're going to beat them up and get extremely physical. They're going to make them turn the ball over. They're going to take those turnovers, and they're going to go and score. And I think that's going to be the way that Missouri is going to pull that game out. Arizona easily. Princeton does have the big point forward kid, but as intriguing as that is, it's just not enough to compete with Arizona at a high level. Down in the East, we're going to go with Purdue. No matter who they play, Purdue should wash any 16 seed, if we're just being honest. And right here, this is again one of the moments I talked about in the intro. You don't want to take your bias and allow it to allow you to make mistakes in your bracket. I love Penny Hardaway. I love Memphis. I was proud of them for winning their conference championship, pulling that win out over Houston, even though Houston didn't have Marcus Sasser. Probably a different story if he's healthy. FAU, I have to take. The 4-out 1-in offense, too potent, in my opinion. Memphis like to speed teams up, make you play out of control, turn the ball over. Obviously they have Kendrick Davis. He's been phenomenal. They're going to score the ball really, really well. They have wins over Houston. They lost by only 3 to Alabama. They're going to be good. DeAndre Williams is solid. They beat Auburn. But this FAU team, man, FAU, they put up points. They spread you out. And I think they're going to be able to handle the pressure from Memphis. And again, they're 31-3. They're 31-3 for a reason. They haven't lost since when? They haven't lost in a very long time. That's all I'm gonna say. They're very potent, and man, they're gonna be a handful. And I'm going with them. I really am. The next matchup, Duke or Roberts. Duke is playing some of the best basketball right now. Tyrese Proctor has been phenomenal for them. Kyle Filipowski has been really, really good. We know Jeremy Roach is their veteran guard that they lean on. Obviously, Dariq Whitehead, Derek Lively, all Roberts is deadly. When you talk about shooting the ball, when you talk about a go-to point guard and Max Aitmans who's going to control the game, he can take big shots, make big shots out of the pick and roll, put a lot of pressure on Duke's defense. And then we also have to talk about this kid who I haven't been that familiar with because this is Max's team, but they have 7'5" Connor Vanover, who shoots the 3 as well. So they have a pick and pop matchup there with a 7'5" center, and he has 100 block shots. They're like top 15 in threes, 3-point percentage. They're like top 20 in blocks. They're going to be a handful for Duke, and as good as Duke has been playing, I have to take the chance to go with Oral Roberts again. I just think that they have too much offense there for them. They have another guy that plays off of max that shoots 40% from three. The 7'5" kid is going to clog up that paint a lot defensively, blocking shots and just making it tough for a guy like Kyle Filipowski. Duke isn't the best three-point shooting team with Tyrese Proctor and Jeremy Roach and whatnot. They're going to be experienced because of the Jeremy Roaches and whatnot. But ultimately, I just think that Oral Roberts may be too much to handle for Duke. Tennessee and Louisiana. A lot of people have been going with Louisiana because of the injury to Ziegler, Tennessee's point guard. I'm still taking Tennessee. They're going to pressure the ball. I think they're not going to allow Louisiana to get too comfortable. And Louisiana, they don't shoot the three ball a lot. They don't shoot free throws well. Tennessee isn't the greatest free throw shooting team either, but it's going to really hurt Louisiana to not be able to convert at the line. You have to be able to make free throws if you want to upset a team. Tennessee has all that experience, been one of the top most consistent teams all year. Obviously, Ziegler going down is going to hurt them the further the bracket goes out, but I'm still rocking with Tennessee to win over Louisiana. The next, this game for personal reasons is going to be nice. Bryce Hopkins, the star of Providence, transferred from Kentucky, where his freshman season was kind of and a lot of conversations here in Chicago about Bryce, because we're like, man, Bryce maybe shouldn't have went to Kentucky. And sure enough, he transfers to Providence, and now I'm hearing him in draft conversations where they're like, man, he should come back for his junior year. If he has another season like this year, next year, he's going to be a for sure guy that can put his name in the draft and whatnot. So we have a revenge game for Bryce Hopkins against Kentucky. The one thing I am going to say, I'm giving Kentucky the edge because they're just too big. They're too big. They're going to kill you on the offensive glass. And I think they're just the size is going to really bother Providence. Providence isn't a lights-out three-point shooting team either. They try to get their points from the inside. They try to rebound and bang with you as well. But I think Kentucky is going to out-muscle them and be too strong for them to really play the type of game if they play it all year to be the Providence team that we know. They're not the best defensively either, but I love the job that Ed Cooley has done. I love the bounce-back season from Noah Locke and Bryce Hopkins, but ultimately I think Oscar Tshiebwe, Jacob Toppin, Cason Wallace, they're going to be too much to handle for Providence, though I would love to see Providence pull this one off just for a personal factor with Bryce Hopkins. Shout out to Bryce Hopkins. Kansas State, Montana State. Montana State is intriguing, but overall, you got to take Kansas State. They've been just too trustworthy throughout the season. Keontae Johnson, they got the little guard. What is his name? Please mention his name. Where's my guy? Marquise Noel, little guard. He's going to be a problem. And I think Kansas State all year has been consistent, and they haven't done anything for me to think that they can't pull out a first-round matchup against the 14th seed. Michigan State, this is Tom Izzo's time. This is Tom Izzo's forte. Tom Izzo and March go together like peanut butter and jelly, Oreos and milk, ass and titties. That's how Tom Izzo is with March. The guy, I don't care if he has top 5 prospects, the number 1 overall prospect, if you don't have a name that you're familiar with, Tom Izzo gets it done when it comes to March Madness. I talked about it earlier. Alabama would be a place that I would want to go if I was a top prospect, if I had a son who was a top prospect, if my brother EJ got an offer from them and was trying to figure it out, I would vouch heavily for Alabama. Another school that has that same respect for me, Tom Izzo. You know why? Because if you go to Michigan State, you're almost damn guaranteed to have a Final Four appearance in your 4 years there. Tom Izzo gets it done. I'm taking him over over USC. As much as I like Boogie Ellis, I know they got really good interior defense in USC, really balanced offense as well. But I think Michigan State gets the job done with their balanced roster and their experience there. They also got my guy who shoots the ball really well. Tyson Walker and Hogard. So I like that little duo that they have there in Michigan State. Shout out to Malik Hall, Illinois product. Marquette, Vermont. I know I'm kind of blocking it. We're going to go Marquette. Marquette dominated the Big East all year. Still had a bunch of disrespect on their name. I think Shaka Smart is one of the best college basketball minds that we're going to find. He just does a phenomenal job anywhere he goes, and I think he's doing it in Marquette. Love their team a lot. They are as good as anybody in this bracket, if we're just being honest. We're going to scroll up. We're going to handle our business over in the Midwest. Midwest will probably go through a little faster. Houston is just going to outweigh Northern Kentucky, who does the little matchup zone passing lanes. If Northern Kentucky could have been a 14 seed or a 13 seed and not have to play a Houston, I probably would have picked them to upset somebody. I think their defense can throw off some teams. Marcus Sasser, don't know if he's playing or what. I would expect him to be healthy by the time that they do play. But maybe that defense still gives Houston some problems. Houston is just so big, they're so strong, and they get grimy and dirty defensively as well with Jerace Walker and whatnot. So I still want to take Houston, but Northern Kentucky does have a defense that can make a team struggle in the first half before they can get acclimated and whatnot. And once you get that momentum on your side as an underdog lower seed in that first half, anything is possible in that second half for you to win a game. Iowa plays too fast for Auburn. Auburn is a solid team. Nothing that I love this year. I wish Chance Westry didn't have to deal with his injuries or whatnot. I do love the little offense that they run, the flex with Bruce Pearl. It's my boy. What is his name? Where's his name? I can't even. I don't even know where my guy's name is for Auburn. One of the bigs, I really like him a lot, but I don't think it's gonna be enough. Chris Murray, Iowa, the McCartney guys. I got Iowa. They play too fast, man. They get out in transition, they blow you away. Next thing you know, you're down 11 and you're fighting from behind in a blink of an eye. So give me Iowa in that matchup. Miami and Drake. DeVries with Drake. He's really, really really good, but I just don't think he's enough by himself to overpower Miami, especially with their offense, all the backdooring. You got Miller, you got Isaiah Wong, you got Jim Larrañaga. He's been a monster at Miami. Jim Larrañaga also was a monster at George Mason, had one of the best Cinderella stories we've seen in a long time over the last 20-some years. If you know, you know. Hopefully a lot of y'all was around for that time. Shout out to Jim Larrañaga, though. I'm going Miami in this one. Indiana and Kent State. Kent State is not to be slept on. Kent State, again, like Northern Kentucky, I may pick if they were playing anybody else, but I think Indiana, with how they played in the Big Ten, with Trace Jackson Davis, Jalen Hood-Schifino, and the supporting cast that they have around those two, they're going to be too much for Kent State, but I really, really, really like the way Kent State plays. They have the Defensive Player of the Year in from their conference on their team. Is his name mentioned to refresh my mind? It is not, but they're going to get some turnovers playing the passing lanes. I believe that's a team. I believe he's from Kent State. I could be wrong, but overall I'm taking Indiana. They're going to be too much for them. In this matchup, whether it's Mississippi State or Pittsburgh, if it's Pitt is going to be a tougher matchup, but I'm still taking Iowa State overall. Xavier and Kennesaw State. Xavier has been top notch, just like Marquette in the Big East. Xavier is one of the most balanced and well-coached teams with Sean Miller, who used to coach at Arizona. They have very little flaws. And when you talk about a March Madness team, top to bottom, they have experience, they have edge, they have shot making, they have creators, they have defense, they have size, they have versatility. I love that they check almost as many boxes as you can for a team at this time of the month. Shout out to Xavier. Texas A&M, Penn State, Texas A&M, they run a horns, offense through the horn setup with my guy. My mind is going blank. It's so many names to remember. What's the power forward name? Is he mentioned? What's my guy's name? Not Dexter Dennis. Not Dexter. Henry Coleman III. I like the way that they play, but overall, I got to take Penn State. Penn State has been dangerous if you watch Big Ten basketball. Jalen Pickett and these guys, they get after it. They play hard. The inside out. I think it's going to be too much for Texas A&M. Texas A&M, though, it's hard for me to pick against them because they've played as well as anybody as well, coming from the conference they come from. But boy, Penn State is a handful. Overall, though, I'm taking Texas, and no matter what, Texas should stump Texas A&M or Penn State. Let me not say stump, but they'll beat them and get by them. Down here in the West, Howard played really well. I love their point guard. What is his last name again? Little point guard, very, very quick. Hawkins, I think his last name is. They're not showing me, though. Something Hawkins. I watched them in their championship game. Was really impressed with how they pulled that out. Happy that they made the tournament. Kansas will be too much for them. Arkansas and Illinois spread offense is cool. Terrence Shannon is cool. Underwood, underwhelming. I'm going to take Arkansas. Defensively, they're too versatile, and I don't think Illinois wants any problems with Arkansas. Shout out to Jordan Walsh, Anthony Black, and Nick Smith is getting it going at the perfect time. So shout out to Arkansas. If they had Trayvon Brazile, it's not even a question, and they're probably not even at the 8th seed if they had him. St. Mary's, VCU. St. Mary's, obviously they're going to shoot the basketball really good. They have Tyler Johnson's little brother, Logan Johnson, but VCU, when you talk about ball pressure and your face defense, the way that I like my teams to play, if I was a coach, VCU is that way. They're going to be too hostile, too in your face, too much on St. Mary's for St. Mary's to breathe. They don't want those type of problems. Give me VCU with the upset. UConn and Iona. Jordan Hawkins, Senghor, the big man who crashes the offensive rebounds for UConn. I want to take them, but Iona and Rick Pitino is making it damn tough. Man, they taking it. Foul trouble. The Achilles heel is foul trouble as they frequently send opponents to the line. And obviously, Walter Clayton for Iona, he's the most accurate free throw shooter. that is going to be something to think about. The 3-point shooting, I'm not really familiar with the effort. We're going to go out and we're going to go Iona. Don't follow me on that just because UConn is so good. But in my original bracket that I did off camera, which is refreshing my memory and all that, I had VCU versus Iona, I remember. Because I was like, damn, Kansas, if they get by Arkansas and they handle their business, they're going to have a 12 or 13 matchup if my bracket goes accurately. UConn, I'm sorry, wonderful year, but Iona's going to get you. Rick Pitino is back in the basketball world. TCU. Got to go with TCU. The wings they have, Chuck O'Bannon blocking 3-point shots and whatnot. Jamie Dixon, the Horned Frogs or whatever they are. I love Jamie Dixon as a coach. Back when he used to coach Pittsburgh, he gets the job done. He's one of those coaches like Izzo and March. And in the conference tournaments, they get the job done. Coaching matters. If any of y'all like college basketball, you want to get into college, you need to get familiar with the coaches. The coaches are the rock stars. It's not like the NBA where it's all about the players. In college basketball, it's all about the coaches and what players they recruit. But without the coach, you just have players out there. The coaches build these schemes and these identities for these teams. You know, when you think about Kansas, you think about Bill Self. You don't think about Andrew Wiggins in the 1 year he played there. You don't think about Joel Embiid in the 1 year he played there. You may think about Mario Chalmers because of the shot he hit against Memphis, but you're thinking about Bill Self. You're thinking about Bill Self. When you think about Michigan State, you're thinking about Tom Izzo. You're not thinking about Max Christie. You're not thinking about Miles Bridges. You're thinking about Tom Izzo. So the same thing with TCU. I'm thinking about Jamie Dixon, not Desmond Bain, to be honest with you. So I got them over Arizona State or Nevada, whoever makes it. Gonzaga, Grand Canyon, good story. Not enough for Gonzaga. The pick and roll offense is going to be real good, but it's not going to be enough for Gonzaga. They don't have anybody that can match Drew Timme. Julian Strawther, I really like, and I think Gonzaga is in a very perfect place. They're a team that needs to thrive under the water, when under the radar. When they're the number 1 seed and they get all the attention and expectations, they kind of fold. This way, if you look at their route, Grand Canyon, TCU, like, it's shaping up to where Gonzaga can be that under the radar team. Y'all talk about Kansas, y'all talk about UCLA. We're just gonna sit here in a corner and just handle our business. Gonzaga's a team to watch in this bracket. Northwestern, Boise State. Northwestern has been really good in the Big Ten. I love blue. Boise State defense is too stingy. Trust me on this. Boise State's defense is too stingy. I got Boise State with the 10-7 upset right there. UNC Asheville, Drew Pember. They 5 out would be tough for anybody if it wasn't UCLA. Again, just like I talked about with the Northern Kentucky team, if UNC Asheville was here, maybe I take them. If they were here, maybe I take them. But at 15 against UCLA, with the way UCLA has played, especially coming off the Pac-12 conference tournament with Amari Bailey and how he's played, Jaime Jaquez, Tiger Campbell, I got to go UCLA. They're kind of built for this with some of the experience that they have and some of the options. Obviously, if they had Jalen Clark and not him going down with an Achilles injury, they're even much better for this. Staying in the West, Boise State, UCLA is going to go right past them. And Jamie Dixon and TCU, I don't think they have enough for Gonzaga, unfortunately. So I got Gonzaga moving on there. VCU Iona, I'm going to give it to Iona to pull out against VCU just because I think that they're going to limit their turnovers. VCU is going to depend too much on trying to make them turn the ball over. Kansas is going to be Arkansas. Arkansas just isn't ready for that type of leap, in my opinion, with Anthony Black, Jordan Walsh, and Nick Smith with too many freshmen. Devontae Davis, Debo Davis. They won't have enough to match Kansas with Jalen Wilson, Grady Dick, and those guys. Kansas is poised for this. They just came off a national championship last year. They're built for this type of run. Up top in the Midwest, Houston versus Iowa. Houston is just too physical, too in your face, and they're not going to allow Iowa to get in transition to just have their way. So I got Houston advancing. Miami, Indiana. Miami, a lot of firepower with Isaiah Wong and Miller. Indiana will be too much because I don't think they have an answer for Trace Jackson Davis. So I got Indiana advancing there. Iowa State, Xavier, too good top to bottom for a team like Iowa State. Could be close, but I got Xavier fading them. And then Texas is going to beat up on Penn State because the inside-out presence with Jalen Pickett just won't be there with a team like Texas and the size they have. They are really, really, really monstrous. Alabama is going to beat Maryland, no doubt about it. Charleston and Furman, I got Furman. They're just the shooting with Charleston is going to be good for the first 2 rounds, and it's going to be interesting, but not having anybody reliable and just depending on the three-point shot could come and bite them. But at the same time, Charleston could get hot again. And I don't even think it's about being hot. It's what they do. They've done it all year. So it's not even about being hot. But something about a Princeton-style offense with the back door, and it's too much for teams to pick up on that quick in the tournament when you only got like 2 days to really prep, and you're still running off the high of upsetting San Diego State. So give me Furman with their offense. Creighton and Baylor. Creighton, again, just like Xavier, they're kind of built for this. They have size, they have guards, they make shots. Give me Creighton over Baylor all day in this matchup right here, if Baylor even gets by UC Santa Barbara. Down here, Missouri and Arizona, I do love the way that Missouri plays, but I think Arizona has too much with the high-low options of Tubulis to Obella. With the big man, I forget his name, how to pronounce it. I also like Kerr, and I like, what's my guy's name? Bossman. I hope I'm pronouncing some of these people's names right. Yeah, Ballo, Tubelis, and there's another younger guard. He's like 17 years old that comes off their bench, I believe. Down here in the East, Florida Atlantic, it was a great run, but y'all don't have an answer for Zach Edey. I mean, they do. They have a 7-foot kid. I forget his name. He transferred from I think it was Texas Tech. He's the big 7'1" in there, 4 out, 1 in. But I think Zach Edey is gonna get the job done. Oral Roberts is gonna beat Tennessee. This is where Ziegler's injury is gonna come to play for Tennessee. And Max Amos is going to get his job done, and they're going to go on and play Purdue. Kentucky, Kansas State. I got Kentucky just being too much for Kansas State. I think Kentucky's been rolling at the right time. They've hit their stride. This is where Kentucky comes alive for Coach Calipari. Michigan State, Tom Izzo. This is when y'all come alive. Not until y'all go against somebody like Shaka Smart, who's ready and poised for this. Same thing here. Shaka Smart and Marquette, too well-oiled. They faced everything that you can face this year in the Big East, and they've handled it so well. So I'm taking them over Kentucky. And Purdue is going to be too much for Oral Roberts, and they're going to end their run that they have. Gonzaga and UCLA, it's going to be a dogfight. Ultimately, I have to go UCLA. Part of me wants to go Gonzaga, though, but I think UCLA is flowing right now. And then we have Kansas and Iona. Kansas is going to stump Iona unless Rick Pitino has other plans. Up here, Houston, Indiana. I got to go with Houston. They're just too much. Trace Jackson Davis is not going to have the type of games he's used to having against Big Ten teams. So I got Houston there. Xavier, I got over Texas. Xavier is just too polished in my opinion. Alabama, that's an easy route for them against Furman. And then Creighton and Arizona is going to be a very, very good matchup. But I think Arizona is going to get my guy Ryan Kalkbrenner into foul trouble. And that two-man game that they have with their 2 front court players will be overwhelming for Creighton. Down here, Purdue, Marquette. Give me Marquette. Purdue is not ready for that type of basketball yet. Too much screen action, too much double screens and all of that for Zach Edey to keep up in. They're going to eat him alive, and they're going to advance to the Final Four. UCLA and Kansas, Bill Self is just too It's too good. Kansas too good. Jalen Wilson's too good. So I got them going to the Final Four. And I'm not even a Kansas fan. I actually hate Kansas with a passion because of the shot that Mario Chalmers hit over Derrick Rose, where Memphis would have won a championship. But we're not going to talk about that right now. I got Xavier beating Houston. They're ready for that physical play. Then Houston, as good as they are, they're not going to be able to trap ball screens and things like that against a team like Xavier. Sean Miller goes back to the Final Four against Kansas. And then last but not least, Alabama is going to beat Arizona. We got 1-2 against 1-3. Alabama over Marquette. I got Xavier over Kansas. And then I have Alabama beating Xavier 76-70. Boom. Submit pick. Alabama wins the championship. And then just like that, you got the perfect bracket. I'm your boy, PB the Plug. Let me know in the comments what y'all think about any of the picks. Like I said in the intro, I am not an expert. I don't predict to have a perfect bracket, but I do think if you take some of my information, you take some of my thought process, and some of the ways I look at how to pick out a Cinderella upset, is recipes in the writing. You just have to look deep into the details, and you'll be able to pick them out as well. Like I said, make sure you enter the Through the Wire group on ESPN, submit your bracket, and get you a chance to win some free Through the Wire merch. I'll see y'all soon. I'm out. Peace.